Welcome to the WNBF UK Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the WNBF UK Podcast with me, Sarah Glanville, as your host. And in today's episode, I get to spend time with our 2022 Supernaturals Junior Bodybuilding Champion and World's Athlete, James Alabaster. Hello, James. How are you?
How are we doing?
You good?
Thank you for being on the podcast, first of all.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Let's get into it.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's lovely to have you here. It was really nice actually seeing you at First Timers Championships a few weeks ago. It was a bit of a wild day. Yes. You were on your feet the whole day handing out medals. Have you recovered yet?
Only just, yeah. I kid you not, like about 2 days after the event, I was shattered.
Yeah.
It was a whole day. Obviously started around, what was it, around 9ish in the morning. Yeah. 9ish in the morning, and then I think overalls finished at around 9 in the evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's full on 12 hours, and me and Dave were saying this to you on the day, like me and him got a chance to like go backstage and chill out for a little bit, but you were on all day because you were just like handing out handing out a medal.
I know, yeah. I think the only breaks we were getting when it was like comparison rounds, and obviously you do all your posing and you have your pose downs, etc. But when it was time to obviously decide 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, we knew, right, quick, get your medals together. And it was all like on our feet, up and down. But yeah, it's really cool to see it from a different sort of like angle, you know. Yeah. See, basically going to the events and only being a competitor, you don't realise how much goes into it.
Totally.
And seeing it from a sort of behind the scenes aspect of not being in a rush of, have I got to be on stage at this time or whatever, you really do see like how much organisation goes into it, from like obviously Steph, Andy, all the staff members in general. It's just, it's madness seeing it from a different angle sort of thing. You know, makes you appreciate how much work that they put in to make sure that athletes are like well catered for on the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciative towards getting the opportunity to do that, to be fair. It's nice to sort of like see how happy other people are, because when I'm on stage, it's a bit like, well, I've got to get the job done sort of thing. I don't really soak it all in, and seeing other people's faces, like those that are obviously doing it, first timers, novices, etc. You know, it means the world to them, right? Getting their placings and placing first, etc. So it's great experience.
Yeah, you had such a cool job as well, getting to go like crown everyone with their medals and I was on 3rd and 1st to give out their medals. So handing out the first medal, I was like, smashed it. Yeah,
I think I said to like every competitor who got first, go win that overall. So
go G them up, right?
I know. Yeah, it was really good though, because obviously when I was like in charge of, sort of not in charge of in a way, but I felt like I had a bigger responsibility with teens and juniors because I'm around that age group, right? So seeing the smiles on their faces was like I was in your shoes last year sort of thing. So that was pretty cool doing them ones especially, but obviously everyone deserved it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, amazing. So good.
Yeah.
So I think where we'll start, I want to take it back to the beginning and have you talk me through how you found natural bodybuilding in the first place. Like, we've known each other last year, but I don't think we've ever had that conversation. So how did you discover the sport of natural bodybuilding?
Yeah, we were just saying, weren't we, before we started filming, how when we was at Worlds, it was very much like, how you getting on? Yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And then basically going off and doing our own thing to get ready for our own categories, right? Yeah, so in terms of starting up natural bodybuilding, it all started around that sort of like that high school age. So I'd say around sort of year 8, year 9, which I'm not sure how old I'd roughly be, maybe around 14, 15 ish. Obviously I was into all my sports teams. So I was on rugby team, I was track athlete, I was doing 100 meter, 200 meter, football player. I was always in the positions where you quite like quick, so I was on like the wings or striker or whatever. And then I thought to myself, like, obviously naturally when you're doing sports when you're younger, you put on a little bit of size and you notice changes, right? So a couple of people are like, you know what, you should maybe start going to the gym and maybe taking it to a next level for your age group.
Yeah.
So I got myself gym membership. Had about 1 or 2 mates at the time that were into the gym as well. Started training with them and then sort of fell in love with it, really. I was quite fortunate that I wasn't one of these teenagers who got into the gym and then didn't have a clue what they're doing. I'd always get in from school when I maybe should have been revising, and I was watching workout videos with my pasta and chicken or whatever, proper taking it seriously for the age group. For that age group anyway, it's like a lot of people like eating rubbish. I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna have pasta chicken, I'm gonna have rice beef, just so I feel better about myself, sort of thing. And I'm fortunate I did, because it sort of gave me a head start in a way, getting into it that young. Yeah, that's where it all started, really. And then started going to the gym, and then I noticed by like year sort of 10 and 11, a lot of people were like, you know what, you're actually gaining quite a bit of size here. So obviously then I started watching like bodybuilding videos and like thought to myself, look, I'm doing this naturally. I didn't have too much knowledge on it back then, but obviously I knew that these top guys were enhanced, obviously.
Yeah.
So I thought, is there such thing as natural comps? So then I started doing a bit of research, and then that takes me on to when I did my competition in 2019 at 18 years old, and then just went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's been a really cool like journey that you've had through just loving sport and then wanting to kind of develop maybe your capabilities in your sport, and then falling in love with the gym and training, and just quite a natural progression into finding something that you're really passionate about. So you mentioned there you competed as a teen back in 2019. What kind of made you decide that you wanted to take your love for training and for the gym and take it into a prep and step on stage? Because like you said as well, like as a teenager, a lot of people around you are living a completely different lifestyle. So what attracted you to stage?
Yeah, see, that's like the sort of age where you start like going out with your mates, maybe.
Yeah.
And, sort of you hit that 18 mark and you're out every weekend, right? Well, that's what I was seeing from other people. And I thought, you know what, like if I've sort of like been given good genetics in a way, so I'll say thanks. I might as well use it to my advantage. Like I don't just want to be like another one, like just another sort of teenager going out every weekend, getting like drunk, etc. I'd rather actually like make the most of what I've got, sort of thing. So just like going to the gym and obviously starting to research natural comps, I came across the WNBF comp at the time, and then I went and did their what would it be now? It'd be the Central, which isn't about anymore. So I did that in 2019 as a teenager, and it's funny actually because prep wise I didn't have too much of an insight into like how you should cut down your calories week by week. So I think looking back at it, I looked pretty good for not knowing what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like obviously looking back, I think like legs could have done a bit of work, obviously, but you know, for a teenager who was just going to the gym and enjoying it and thought, you know what, just chuck myself into a competition to see what I'd look like the guys on TV I look at, I thought I did all right, to be fair.
Yeah. So you prepped yourself?
Yeah, didn't have a coach, didn't know about any of that coaching stuff. When I actually arrived to the event and other people were like, oh yeah, I've been coached by this, I was like, huh? Did my own stuff. So as you can tell, I was very like new to sport. I was just basically a baby to it. Didn't have a lot of people thought I was actually in juniors. I was like, all right, cheers. Appreciate that.
I went back and looked at your pictures actually to figure out what year it was that you competed in just before we recorded, and I was like, damn, like 18 years old, you look great. Had someone told you that you had good genetics? Because I know you said they're like you're blessed genetically, and you're a fantastic bodybuilder. I think you're structurally really fortunate, but you work hard now to build up on that. But yeah, your structure's fantastic. Did someone tell you that you had the genetic potential to be great at the sport? Is that kind of what led you into wanting to compete?
Yeah, I think it's through like when I used to play football and obviously rugby, a lot of people are saying, you know what, you're actually looking like really good. Like you seem to be quite sort of like muscly for our age group. And then the more that people sort of started saying it, it was just getting into my head, why not just take it up?
Yeah.
You know, because at the time I was like, rugby was a school thing. I think I may have got scouted, but going into a weekend going to be caked in mud wasn't really my plan.
Yeah.
I'd rather be sitting at home or whatever, or going to the gym as it was. And then football, I was pretty good. Like did well for like Sunday and Saturday league, but I wasn't at the point where, you know, you can move it up next level, academy style, I guess. And then with the athletics, like I was like obviously nearly there in terms of being a sprinter, but like I was always getting like fourth in county or whatever it was. So I knew that those ones, it was like I was good at, but I wasn't going to excel.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to like level up really. So obviously with the gym sort of stuff, just took it seriously and thought, you know what, why not start a new hobby?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
How did you get on at the WNBF in that first year?
Yeah, won that comp actually. So, you know.
There you go.
Yeah, it's actually madness because as far as UK comps go, I haven't actually lost a category yet, which is pretty good
That's
resume,
pretty
right?
impressive. That's pretty cool. I'm going to talk. Yeah, snap.
Got it.
We're gonna touch on that in a little bit. I think about your mindset around competing and coming back after having success. But when you then won that competition, I'm guessing that you got some feedback and you decided to invest in a long off season. How did you find kind of taking that time out from stage, and what was your focus for that? Was it 2.5 years roughly that you were in an off season?
Yeah, I actually wasn't planning on having that long off. But so I did that comp in 2019. And then 2020, well, I wanted to compete in 2021.
Yeah.
But 2020, I was obviously, you know, lockdown hits.
Yeah.
So I was out with my guys and we went to play football, right? I don't know if you know too much about the injury.
No, I don't actually. Fill me in.
Okay, so what happened was, I don't know, we were just being youngsters and, you know, don't really think about stuff, right? So we went to play football, jumped over a 12-foot fence to get into a AstroTurf. And about half an hour, 40 minutes in, I was doing step overs, turn, and my leg snapped from the knee. And my leg was like floppy, like chicken leg, like my left knee. And I was in so much pain I couldn't even speak. I was like, got called an ambulance, it's no joke. They thought that I'd hurt my shoulder from how I landed. Like, fuck, that was the least of my worries. Yeah, it was absolute madness in terms of like, you don't expect that when you go out to just have a little kickabout, right?
Yeah, Jesus.
If it was a game of football, like fair enough, because it's quite intense, but just going out for a kickabout. So then that happens, and I basically had to get mum to call up the caretaker. So that's embarrassing. Get in. I think police came, but I think they let me off because I'd hurt my knee.
Yeah.
And then we spent 3 hours or so in A&E to be told, go and have a scan and put a cast on. So I was like, cheers, 3 hours out of my life. I'll never get back to be told, go and have a scan. And then I had the scan done and I got like a 41% ruptured ACL.
Oh my God.
And I got a bone bruising and I had a blood leak in my kneecap as well. So that was not nice at all.
Wow. That's like a huge injury. Like how long did it take for that to recover?
It should have actually taken around 9 to 10 months, but I obviously from when I was at college, I did sports coaching development and physio.
Yeah.
So me having that knowledge of that, I managed to get it done in 7.
Yeah.
So I was just like, literally, I was just like on it all the time. I think I had about 2 days where I drowned in my sorrows. I was like, love the stage.
Yeah.
Even love sports as a side sort of thing. And I thought, nah, it's not happening again.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Got to try and I'm not even academic, so yeah, I'd have been in a bin, basically. But
Yeah.
gave myself maybe like, yeah, those 2 days to a week to really have a think about what's next, and then thought to myself, no, I'm letting this put me down.
Yeah.
So I was on crutches for maybe about 2 months.
Yeah.
My mum thought, what are you doing? And I was literally about, after that week, I was going out for walks with my
Yeah.
crutches. I'd have my headphones on, I'd go out for walks with my crutches, try and put pressure on that knee to get it moving again. You can't let it get stiff.
Yeah.
Couldn't even put my socks on or nothing for a good 3 months. And then, yeah, basically got it sorted in 8 months, bit by bit. Had another physio give me a hand on the side of that, and everyone was amazed with like how you like back to doing even just like leg presses
Yeah.
this soon. And I was just like, obviously when I was that young, it was one of them ones where, well, it's only about 3 years ago now, but still your recovery is like really good, right, at that age.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate in that sense. Like if I'd have done it when I'm like in my 30s or whatever, like recovery wouldn't have been at the same level.
Yeah, but I think that also it's testament to your resilience and you putting the work in to rehab it. Like how many of us have got a niggle or whatever that we just kind of push to the side and don't do the rehab work, just hope it gets a little bit better. But like with an injury that size, like if you are wanting to be serious about any sort of sport in the future, you had to just get it done. But it would have been in some ways easier just to be a bit lazy with it. But you've done the hard thing and you've shown your resilience there. And that's even more impressive, the return to stage in 2022 with that huge period of time in the middle with recovering from that injury.
Yeah, it was such as like a sort of a big backstory that maybe people didn't really realize that happened. So like getting back on stage was a bit of a win in itself. But
Absolutely.
like I found that as like motivation to just go mad on legs. Hence why you've probably seen as of late my leg day videos are a bit nuts.
Yeah.
Because I just want to sort of like build on every single stage shown that I've had. I mean, going into the 2022 season was like, all right, cool, I've hurt my leg. Let's see how good I can get my legs balanced again.
Yeah.
Because my upper body was cool. I was still doing all the stuff, you know, you can have your leg in a cast on a bench and just rest it there. Upper body you can still train like you normally do, right? But yeah, the whole getting the legs back up there and then being told I've got like really, really good legs for my age group. We went into this about the hamstring sort of thing that we're going to do in next year, maybe, if it all goes ahead. But yeah, but being told that you've got like superb legs for your age is awesome coming back from an injury like that. Because I don't think a lot of lads my age maybe could have don't know, got back up to the stage after that, to be fair.
No, I think a lot of people never have returned to stage. And I mean, your legs are very impressive. Like I never would have guessed if you'd injured anything that it would have been a leg. Because as you mentioned as well, like the balance and stuff, your legs there's a lot of symmetry there. There's not really an imbalance. Maybe you see it. I don't know.
I think if I'm very self-critical, so if I'm looking at myself, I'm like, yeah, that left leg is a little bit smaller. But if you're just glancing, it's probably like you can't really see anything.
Yeah.
So
but that's an incredible place to be that soon after your injury, when you've now just got hopefully a clean run to just continue to build on.
Yeah, that's why, like, obviously the off season going from like unintentional off season, because I wanted to do 2021. So going from 2020 to 2022. It wasn't an ideal off season. I mean, in lockdown, having that injury, even though I was going out for walks, got really overweight. I think I was got to 98 kilos, and then for some reason I just fell off the wagon. And obviously being around sort of like 5'7"ish, I got up to 115, which is really bad.
Yeah.
That's quite overweight, to be fair. And then obviously when gyms open, I was just bang on it again.
Yeah.
But this time around, I'm sort of sitting at around 95, good body comp.
Yeah.
I've got a mini cut very soon, but I'm in a much better place than I was last off season, which is
so it's so encouraging for you to know like you've had a suboptimal off season and what that means you're capable of when everything's kind of lined up and ticked up for you. So I'm really interested to know how you felt, obviously coming back. I know that for you it was a massive win just to get back on stage, but coming back to stage after you had success in your first season and you won your first show, did you feel pressure, or was there like a weight of expectation coming back to compete again in 2022, stepping into the juniors category?
Yeah, it was like there's both sides of it. So obviously, like the analogy of having a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, there was a side of me which was like, all right, I won the teens one, so I need to now get back to what I was. Or I sort of thought that I'd be letting sort of, because Joshua Conde, shout out to my guy, my coach, he prepped me through that prep getting back up there. So I thought he was like, look, you're coming back to stage, no pressure, mate. But obviously me being really competitive, I wanted to get the job done, sort of thing. I don't know, like if you have a look at my show day vlogs, like, I'm very serious and quiet until I'm off stage, because I just want to make sure I can get it done, sort of thing. Like maybe I'm a bit too hard on myself or whatever. I need to just enjoy the day in the future. But that was very much about sort of like, I'm getting back on stage, seeing how I look, improving from the last show, and then getting it done and proving what's capable with what I've achieved coming back from the injury.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was like two things really: see how I looked after the injury, and really wanting to go out there and just take the titles, really.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, I get it. Like I get where your mindset was at. I think for me, it's not the same with the injury thing at all, but that weighing up how do you reckon with the category changing, or like the goalpost changing slightly for you, like you're stepping from teens into juniors, and automatically you're expecting your competitors are going to have leveled up in terms of, as you've leveled up, you know, as you've continued to mature. For me, moving category to figure, you've had success before and you know how good that feels, and it's like, well, how do you wrap your head around that thought of like it being a little bit more a little harder? It's different. And for yourself, you obviously had that added element of wanting to prove to yourself that you were still capable of it. I can imagine that's quite a lot to try and reckon with. I mean, it's not a surprise that you kind of had that quiet time on show day, just getting yourself into the zone before you stepped on stage. I'd say
I was quite fortunate actually when I was a teen that I did get chucked in the deep end in a weird way, because I did go to overalls.
Yeah.
Like I thought to myself, look, you know what, why not just go up against the men, so I look against them. So it wasn't as if I was just like a teen and that was it. I did see how I looked against men, and although like they were amazing, obviously, because you know, muscle maturity training, got coaches which I didn't even know about. Maybe some pose I was like looking like a bit of a twig against them or whatever, but that did show to me how it would look against older guys up there.
Yeah.
So I did have a sort of an insight on what it would look like rather than people my age. So yeah, that was wicked. And then going into 2022 season, I knew it would be a step up.
Yeah.
Like you said, bit by bit, everyone's getting a bit older. Everyone's been going gym for longer. Everyone's prepping, more serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome process getting coached and seeing the really ins and outs of how much dedication it takes a coach to make you stage ready.
Yeah.
Like, obviously very appreciative towards Josh for getting me there.
Yeah, I think it's part of your like level up, right? In the first season, you've got to know yourself really well. You've taken yourself through the process and you've stepped into that overall lineup. And I mean, what better way to see where you need to work on and what your future can look like than standing up next to people that ultimately in a few years' time you will be competing against. And then yeah, it's really great. I know how great your relationship is with Josh. It was great he came out to LA with us as well for
Yeah, wicked. Honestly, yeah. I think he told me about a good 2 or 3 weeks prior that he was coming out, and he was keeping it on the low that he was coming out. And I thought at that point that, like, you know, this is something special here. Do you know what I mean? Like, got a really good coach to client relationship.
Yeah.
There, and I think maybe by the time Worlds had come about, I was like a little bit burnt out, just because I think I started prep just straight after February.
Yeah.
So obviously by the time November hit, I was worn out big time. You know, I usually hear like people's prep 16 weeks, 18 weeks. You know, I ended up in the end like it's horrible, like 42 weeks or something. it's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's great that, you know, you had someone that was there to kind of take you through that process. And I'm sure that helped massively with a bit of pressure off yourself. It wasn't down to you to make decisions. Like, he could make decisions and guide you through it and be there for a bit of a sounding board with you as well, for how you're feeling. So we've touched a bit on worlds and stuff already, but talk us through your 2022 season. So you had a long off season, prepped, ready for 2022. How did that go?
Where do we start? What a season, eh? Yeah, 2022 season. Went on holiday. Mum thought, you know what, starting prep soon. Let's eat away.
Yeah.
You know, get all the food in me that we can before we start starving ourselves. So it was actually quite good quality food. We was away in like sort of the Spanish islands, right? So you've got like fresh fish, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't like I was cheating, but it was different to what I'm having at home, right?
Yeah.
So I started prep, March sort of time. I think it was. Josh, me and him stayed in contact since 2019, here and there. How you getting on? Everything cool, wicked, nice, stay on top of your training.
Yeah.
And then that season hit, and then we went and had a look at natural comps. So we applied for, obviously, as I was doing WNBF prior, I thought, you know what, go for there was no more central, so I went for a southern. So I went for the southern show. That was qualifier for finals. So I think that, the plan was to go in about 85, 90%. So leave a bit of condition out and just play size game.
Yeah.
And then people like blimmin' neck, like after prejudging or whatever it was, they're like, okay, mate, like legs have just come on massively.
Mm-hmm.
Fair play to you. And I was explaining my injury, and they're like, are you sure you've had an injury? I actually look better than the 2019 season. Like, there's a picture that I'll send you after this or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a real big difference between that 2019 legs to 2022 qualified legs. It almost just don't look like the same person. And it's like, it just shows that all that hard work that's partly why I love competing, right? All that hard work that you've done actually just gets shown on stage. So we did the Southern big junior class. I think there was, can't say off the top of my head, but I think there might have been 11 or 12 of us.
Yeah.
Really good standard. You had a lad to come from Germany as well, which was quite mad, come all the way from another country for qualifier. But yeah, really good standard. Get on with all the guys as per usual with every show. Everyone's sound there, right? And then got the win coming back. So I was like, comeback tour complete ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that for that Southern show. And then when was the other one? October the 2nd was the WNBF finals. So as you can guess, all the top three or whatever it was, whoever got an invite to finals, wicked standard yet again, obviously been picked up a notch due to everyone deserving to getting their golden ticket to get there. So that was really cool experience, seeing people off like Instagram that you know of, everyone getting ready for the final, finally coming to the day, doing it, smashing it again. Strangely enough, did not get nervous for any of the shows apart from the Supernaturals. Actually, that was the only one that I really got nervous for. So I did that final, and then I got asked to do Supernaturals by Andy and Steph. They obviously saw me, and they thought, you know what, why not come along, give it a try, you know, it's your first time. And then went off to do Supernaturals and really enjoyed it, and you know, smashed it again. I don't want to sound arrogant, that's the thing, but I really enjoyed it and like did the best I could, and it obviously paid off. So
it's not arrogance. I don't think you earned it. You turned up, you looked phenomenal, and you took the class win, which is insane. But yeah, really well deserved. What made you nervous about Supernaturals? I'm really interested. And how was the show day experience for you?
I think that what made me nervous about Supernaturals more than anything is obviously with the British finals being on a clean slate of just going into a British finals, BNBF was a bit like, okay, cool, he's earned his right to be there. Yeah. And now he's in the British finals. Let's see how he gets on. And the fact that I won that one, going into Supernaturals, a lot of people like, he's won a show week prior. Yeah. And he do it again, sort of thing. and it was just like that fear of like, can I peak 2 weeks in a row sort of thing? Am I gonna manage to keep up that standard sort of thing? But obviously with the way that we're at WNBF, you know, really supportive, encouraging, welcoming, night prior, because little thing that a lot of people won't know is that Josh actually got me talking to Andy, and Andy was the person who really like nailed down. I only had one Zoom call, but that's all it took. Posing was, James, set your legs right. What you doing? Literally just going on. And I think it got to a point where he was like, oh, he had his head in his hands, bless him. He was like, you're turning the wrong way, mate. What are you doing? This was prior to the qualifier.
Yeah.
So thankful for that we managed to get that sorted. So big thanks to him. But seeing everyone on the day at WNBF was wicked.
Yeah.
Because you sort of just speak to people on Instagram all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure if us lot and sort of CMP and all that had a lot of contact en route to Supernaturals. So it's all just getting to know each other at that point, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I don't think we had really spoken, but I remember seeing you like on show day, and actually I think when I met you in LA, you were to me a different person, because the person I'd seen on show day I think was probably you, like, you know, how you were saying earlier, like you were a little bit like focused into your what you were going to be doing. And I remember seeing you, but you seemed really not quiet, but just very like intense and focused on what you were doing. And then I met you in LA and I was like, no, James is like not like that.
It's almost like on the show day I just go into like sort of like game head on, focused. But yeah, I promise I'm not. If you have seen me on a show day and you think that I'm a little bit closed off and whatever, it's not me.
Everyone's got to do what they need to do on show day. Like, I don't take anyone's show day as like who they actually are, because I think I'm an extrovert anyway, but I think I go even more extroverted. Like, it's just people have their own way of managing how they feel on show day. So you won Supernaturals and you went on to get your qualification for Worlds, and then we went to Worlds. How was that experience?
Oh wow. Yeah, obviously by the time I'd won Supernaturals, I got my qualification to Worlds, but Josh was like, do you really want to go do this? Like, you look exhausted at this point, obviously because of how long I'd prepped. And it didn't help that I had a good 2 days of binge eating rubbish. Like, I'm talking maybe 6k plus calories per day. And obviously for my like skeletal structure and size is way too much, because I was prepping on 1.6k calories at the very end. Like, that's not a lot for like a guy, really, you know. But I had those 2 days and he was like, mate, if you really want to do this, you better stop destroying your body. Stuff you're putting in. And I had a good sort of like 5 days to think, like, do I really want to put my body through this again? Like, I could just settle with the UK comps, thank you very much, sort of thing, and then just crack on as normal. But I thought, you know, if I've given this like opportunity to go and compete in California, Los Angeles, all that, I'm going to turn that down. Like, once a lifetime, right? So, you know, I just made that decision to do it. It was around 6 weeks, wasn't it, prior after Supernaturals?
6 weeks.
So yeah, settled that up in terms of accommodations. Obviously I went out with Jack as well, went out with Fidget, Mum, wanted to make sure she'd experienced that. You never know if you're going to get the opportunity again, right? So but yeah, it's wicked, honestly. Just the whole prep to that. I was very tired, but it was like the whole mental part of it, like, you know, it's LA, come on. Yeah, how did you sort of like feel sort of get into that LA in terms of like the final bit of prep or whatever?
Yeah, because like you, I'd been prepping a long time, and I had set my head up that so I was going to do the UKDFBA and PCA finals the weekend after Supernaturals. So my head was like, right, one, like when I was stepping on the stage in Supernaturals, like one more week and then it's done, because this has been like a long prep. And then getting the qualification, same as you. But I was literally backstage and I said to said to Steve, right, I think I'm going to go to LA. Like, I think I'm just going to patch the other finals and go to LA.
Yeah.
And then he was like, really? Like, really? We're still doing this? We're still going on for another 6 weeks? So I get the, like, that weighing that up is a huge thing. But I was the same as you. Like, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to go. And I think the fact it was, like, as you say, in LA, in California, like, it's literally
it's like a dream, right?
all of like bodybuilding, right? And yeah, it felt like an opportunity I couldn't miss. And it was like the last 6 weeks was a push. It was like a mentally a real push, but getting there was fantastic. And I think as soon as I landed and like seeing you guys all at the hotel, we had like the athlete meeting before and stuff, like it was just like, right, I'm so glad I'm here. Like it's been the right decision to keep pushing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, obviously, when we touched down in LA, obviously, I met most of you. Had a chat at Supernaturals, and by the time, like, I think I saw David at the airport in where was it? I think it was Gatwick.
Yeah.
Who was that? Me and David. So I saw him in the terminal. I was like, "Hey, you all right?" and all that. So it's just like good. It was on the same plane, so it was all like good good atmosphere. And then obviously touchdown, and then you get in LA, you're like, wow, this is like nuts here. And we got there 4 days prior, so we're in LA, we're seeing all these American diners, we can't eat. so that was hard. But it's just that sort of that motivation of this is the big stage now.
Yeah.
Like natural bodybuilding at its peak, right? So the whole experience and the whole meeting everyone, honestly, good vibes there. You know, I felt like there wasn't a lot of pressure because everyone was just rooting everyone on so much that it was like, you're going to smash it regardless. You got here, you earned the right to get here.
100%. Getting there was the win, right? We all won.
It was a win,
yeah.
Like, we all deserve to be there. You wouldn't just put anyone there. So obviously, just having that Team GB shirt on, everything meant the world, really. You know,
completely.
Like, not a lot of people can say that, right? Team GB.
I know, pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you feel like how did you feel stepping on stage at Worlds, having to go into the open men's classes because there's not a juniors or like a team bodybuilding class at Worlds level, so you had to go into middleweights?
Yeah, so this is what me and Josh had this convert about 4 weeks out from Worlds. It told me, look, unfortunately, there's not a junior class here. What's your plan? Is your mind changed, sort of thing? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be going up against guys that have been competing perhaps longer than you've even been going gym.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, is it a bit of a advantage for them lot? But I said, look, why not just give it a go?
Yeah.
You know? But it's a whole different ball game. Obviously, being a junior, I can roll in as heavy as I want, right? So as long as I'm in that cap of being under 23 or whatever it is, I'm cool. But this was about making weight. I was actually fitting in really good in terms of weight cap wise, because I think when we went in for our weigh-in, what's the hotel again? What was it called?
The hotel we were staying at.
The hotel that we had the weigh-in. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
It was the Hilton, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, but by the time I did that, I think I actually had my lowest weigh-in ever.
Yeah.
And I was about 74.5. And I was like, what the hell? How have we managed this? Maybe it was like due to all the LA sun just sweating it out of me. But yeah, that it's sort of at that point when we touched down and had the weigh-ins, got your badge, had a little chat with the officials at the World, sort of seeing people from different nations. So you got like Spain, and then you see all the pros that you see on Instagram, like you know, about Badder, and obviously Ben was there, wicked guy. Seeing all them lot, and you're like, this is surreal now. Like it's like this is real. Like we're here. So at that point, that's when sort of the game head came on again. Obviously, prior to it, having team talks with everyone, I was having a laugh. But it's when that first coat of tan goes on a day prior. That's when it's like the bodybuilding persona just comes on.
Yeah, the mask of tan comes on.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny actually, because we was all having a chat, and then you come back out of this room just all tanned up and everything.
Yeah.
So, I've done that.
I feel like I had my tan like way earlier than everyone else, and then we had the team meeting and team pictures, and everyone's pale, and then I'm just like an Oompa Loompa at the side of the picture.
It's like you've been in LA a couple of weeks prior to all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good. Obviously, when we had our team photo with our flags, waving them around, all that is just like, it's one of them things. Like, I'm so glad that I went and did that, because can you imagine that feeling of, like, I wish I did that, you know?
I know.
Only if I didn't.
Glad you came. I'm so glad you came. I think I'm going to have a bit of FOMO this year. I'm not going to lie.
That's how I felt when I was helping out at the first time, is even just the UK shows. I was like, I want to be up there.
Yeah. Well, at least we know we still want to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So stepping in the men's classes, like, did you get any takeaways from that experience of competing in middleweights? Feedback?
Yeah, I tell you, they push you a hell of a lot more when you go that step up. I think we was on, like, I was cramping up towards that middle part to the end. Maybe why some of my poses didn't come off as much as I wanted. Because they were literally doing straight on, side on, back, other way, for a good 10 to 12 minutes. And I was like, midway through, I was actually saying to Shane, who was coming from Ireland, I like whispered, like, aren't we supposed to be doing muscular rounds? Obviously, because I got so used to competing in that juniors, where they're sort of a bit easier on you in effect. But obviously going into the men's class and being at Worlds, like putting them two together, it's like, all right, we're going to push you, see what you're actually made of here. And it didn't help really, like, prior to it, for that day and day before, I did get pretty nervous, even though I shouldn't have been, because I was the youngest in lineup by a good 4 years minimum. For some reason, like, right before I went on stage, from what I was eating, my gut was a bit like, nervous time. You know, that nervous gut feeling.
Nervous belly.
And it probably, like, did make me, like, look a little bit bloated in the gut. So I don't want to make excuses or nothing on how I looked, but that nervous feeling was horrible. I didn't really experience that at the UK shows until that moment in LA. But yeah, I was happy with the package that I brought on stage. I thought I was relatively confident up there. I mean, my routine went well. I didn't slip at that one like the Supernaturals. You remember when I went to do that side Arnold classic pose?
I didn't see your Supernaturals. Did you slip?
Well, I went to turn and I went, oh. And thank God the audience I had a cheer out of that. Sort of like, well done, you didn't fall on your face. If I'd have fallen on my face, I'd have just said, Steph, just start again. Let me go back to that corner and come out again. But yeah, it was a wicked experience, totally different stage. Obviously being in the theatre it was in was a change of venue right before, right? But it was awesome, like classic looking theatre, all that. The whole thing felt so different to UK. I wouldn't change it for the world in terms of the experience it gave her.
I mean, I think you looked brilliant, and I'm laughing at you saying like how hard they worked you. I don't know if you could hear me, right? I was screaming for you and Jack the whole time. Like, I had no voice that day, like no voice by the time I went on stage, because I was shouting for everyone. But I remember you guys being up there for ages. They worked you guys so hard. But I think it was just, the class was great. Like, there was a really high standard in that class, but you did look really good, and you didn't look out of place up there at all, which I think is just really exciting for you, taking this time out and then coming back again when you will be stepping into men's open classes. Like, last year you were competitive at a world level in the men's open classes as a junior. Like, it's just really exciting, I think, for you coming back.
I felt a bit bad for some of the guys, obviously being older than me, and then they've got a junior who's been called into the first like 5 or whatever. Bless them. You know, must have been a bit like, you know, bloody youngster. But yeah, it's surreal. Like the setup was different to UK shows. So that's like threw me off a little bit, but I'd sort of be prepared that not everything's going to be nice and smooth and as welcoming, if you know what I mean. Like they did have so many competitors to cater for. It's sort of like, all right, you're here at this time, get on, sort of thing. Let's move this show on. Sort of thing. It's not like, oh, hope you do well, you know, sort of thing. Like they're really nice, but as you can imagine, with so many different nationalities and all that, they just need to get the show running and get everyone in position on time, right?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely different, but I think it's great to have the experience to do it and get a taste of it. Because I'm sure that you're planning on coming back to Worlds.
Yeah. Next year I am coming for that UK sword at least. You saw it in my hands.
I did. It looked good in your hands, James. It did.
Yeah. The whole I'm gonna have the whole Viking vibe going on. I'm gonna have the braid, hopefully have the sword.
No, that's great. Okay, I'm glad. So you're manifesting the sword next year. So what's your plans for the next little while then? So you're in off season this year, wanting to compete next year. Do you have your shows lined up? Like, do you know where you're heading?
Yeah, plan is obviously with the amount of natural organisations there are, maybe sort of I'm not too like set in stone what I'm doing next year. I've got a good idea. In terms of organisation wise, obviously WNBF I'm going to give a try. It's like no
brainer,
no questions asked. But it's just about putting everything else in place around it, sort of thing, to make sure, one, I'm not burnt out, two, they're relatively near, but not to the point where I'm doing back to back, having a little bit of a sort of a break in between. Obviously with going into this next one with better body comp and being a lot more confident coming away from that last season, because in effect, although I did that 2019 season, that was my first comp, this year really felt like my debut season. So coming away from that, I'm a lot more confident going in than I was last time, you know. So just giving other organisations a try. Just need to have that big chat with Josh, because it's like, do we try them all, or do we really get me ready for a couple and look like undeniable in a way for those? So it's something to think about. But yeah, WNBF definitely, and I do want to try a couple that are against enhanced organisations, just to see what I look like. So obviously as CMP, like they're partnered up with NFM a bit as well, aren't they? So I want to try NFM as well, definitely. But we'll see where it takes us, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think it's I'm kind of in the same bit as you just now, kind of trying to decide what next year might look like. And I know WNBF will be a show that I obviously compete in, but it's the same as you, where you're like, right, how do I, because I love to compete. I don't know if you love show day. I love show day.
I love the whole even though I look like I'm having the worst time of my life, I love it.
Yeah, right. So, I love to compete and I want to stand on as many stages as possible, but it's finding that balance between how many stages is the right amount of stages to enjoy when you really have something that you're really wanting. So like for you, you're like, I'm wanting that overall sword at WNBF UK. So how do you balance all of that up where
you'd rather do less and get more out of it?
Absolutely.
Sort of thing, you know.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I think max amount of UK shows I'll do next year, probably 5. I really do want to have a big year, and then maybe 1 or 2 worlds if I can even get to those. You know.
That sounds like a good plan. I think
it will be a different kettle of fish though, wouldn't it, next time? Because obviously I'll be in men's classes anyways. Yeah. My birthday falls September, so let's say Supernatural's October. By that time I will, so this is 23rd birthday I'm going into in September this time around this year. So obviously next year I'll be going into 24th birthday. So there's no way I'm doing juniors. So I'll probably be in like men's short or middleweight classes, depending on the organisation. Yeah. So yeah, standard would have gone up again.
I mean, I think that people are going to be nervous for that, because you honestly, like, you belonged on that stage in Worlds to the point that you placed at Worlds, like placed 5th, top 5. Like that's a statement when you're, 22, were you 22?
Yeah, 22 still, yeah.
So like that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you're gonna look at home on that stage, but you're right, it's gonna be a level up. But I have no doubt that your resilience and your work ethic and your drive and your passion for it, like, you're going to have success.
It's like, I don't like the term sort of like eat, sleep and breathe it, but I love it to the point where I really want to excel in this. Not like anything I've done prior. Like, I haven't really found a good love for anything like this. I literally just want to crack on and like do as best as I can. Like, there's nothing like this for me in terms of really wanting to go and get everything that I can in it. But yeah, like we were saying, obviously next time going into men's classes, I sort of like, for that teen, I was going into it as sort of like a baby, and then juniors, it was like getting my feet on the stage and seeing what I can prove to even men's in overalls. This time around, it's like, I'm used to it. Let's get it done.
Yeah. Cool. Good. I'm so excited. Can't wait to watch it and cheer you on next year. It's going to be great. So the final question I have for you, James, it's kind of a big question. I'm guessing I want to know why you decide to compete naturally. You obviously mentioned potentially stepping on untested stages, but why do you choose to compete naturally, and why would you encourage others to take that route?
I think it's one of them ones where you want to be inspirational to those around you, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, as the majority of people my age are going to be natural, unless you just like your goal set on wanting to be enhanced best of the best so early on. Which, like, if you've got a coach behind you, you've got a healthcare team behind you, fair enough, like, go do that. But in terms of how far you can put your body naturally, for me, that is like testing your true limits. Okay, I've built this from my genetics, sort of thing, right? So that's why I do it. Plus, I do not have enough knowledge on any of that sort of stuff outside of natural bodybuilding, so I'd be going into it not knowing what I'm doing, not safe, not healthy. Plus, the whole natural bodybuilding's on the rise, like, year by year. Like, it's just crazy with how, like, a lot more people are like knowing about it now.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you've got bodybuilding, you've got PCA shows, you've got FitX, you've got this, you've got that. Now it's like, I've started out gym so and so ago. I want to compete now. Now I want to do these natural shows and see where I can take myself. So doing it year by year and it growing is like something I want to be a part of, because it will get to a point when it's like everyone is talking about it, like, it's on the rise now, but it will get to a point where it's like really exciting where it's going. So for the time being, however long it will be, staying in a natural game 100%, because it's just what I love to do.
I love that answer. That's a perfect answer to that question. Love what you said about being an inspiration, and I think that leads into why it's on the rise, because you have people in the sport who are elevating it, right? And we are sharing our journey, our stories on social media, and I think that's where the tested federations have had us. They've been a little bit wiser to it quicker than the natural federations, I think, and it's looked very glamorous to be part of untested shows for a long time on social media, and that becomes people's exposure to it, and they don't realize that there's another option out there. But I love what you said about being an inspiration to people your age, and it's people like you who's showing what is possible as a natural athlete that encourages people to compete naturally, and you're highlighting the stages and the places that people can come to compete naturally. So I think it's a kudos to you, and also continuing to elevate that journey and promote that journey. It will continue to grow the sport. And I also like what you said about not knowing enough about it, because I think a lot of people jump in 2 feet to using assistance and they don't understand what they're using or why they're using it. So yeah, if you're going to do it.
The thing is, what I think as well is that if you are thinking about it, have a good 2 years of stage seasons where you see what you look like naturally. Have that first season, see what your base looks like. Have the second season after an off season or straight after, to see how far you can take your body naturally. And then take it from there. Because if you never do it naturally, how are you going to know what base you've got for when you do go to that route eventually? So yes, it's just one of them ones where it's sort of like really seeing how far you can push your body, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Off your own base genetics, really. And obviously going on to that inspiration thing, like I am fortunate that you saw with the first timers event when I went on to obviously raise Ben's hand about the junior thing. That was a really good moment in terms of, don't know if you call it passing the torch sort of thing, but like having my hard work highlighted by David saying this is last year's junior champ, etc. And all that sort of stuff, like it makes it all worth it. And then when you see, especially with the teenagers just starting out, seeing them getting on stage, starting off, seeing the smiles and all that sort of stuff, you're like, yeah, once in your shoes. So yeah, it's exciting, to be fair, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we sign off today, James?
I think we covered quite a lot, really.
We did.
Keep it shortish and sweet. Obviously, we know what the plan is next time.
Yeah.
Get the sword. Get an overall, and maybe even get a world. You never know. But that's not going to be done without hard work. So plan of action, keep going with this off season. You know, just crack on with it and make sure that all that hard work is shown next year.
Yeah. Your potential's there. I think like you've hit the nail on the head. It's just hard work, dedication, and knowing why you're doing it. And you've got a good why. So I don't doubt we'll see you with that sword in hand. I'm excited for it.
It'll come together, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay, James, thank you so much. It's been so good.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And thank you to everyone who was listening along at home. We're going to be back in a few weeks' time with episode 15 of the WNBF UK podcast. Until then, thank you so much again, James.
Check out CNP, our sponsors, and sign up for our events at WNBFUK.com.